You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
All right. What's up, everybody? We are back. This is our end of the week wrap up. So we'll be talking the last three games, which were versus Houston, Phoenix, and San Antonio. And we're excited to be on YouTube Live. If you're enjoying the stream, we'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like, hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe one.
Yeah. So that way you never miss out on a Thunderheads podcast, right?
Yeah.
I'm Rob Larson, joined by Justin Wright, who you may better know as Thunder Tie.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure there's so many people that know you just as Justin Wright.
Where's that from?
Oh.
That was his reference.
Oh, God.
He didn't even...
Hold on. I messed that up for you. I've ruined your moment. Say it again, Justin. One more time.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Big Lebowski.
Yep.
Whew.
Never seen it.
What?
Oh, no.
Also,
Okay,
with...
you know what?
my
Hold on.
So we're going to watch it right now.
Also with the Dark and Stormy, Jason Lewis,
Yes, sir.
who got the reference.
I did. Again.
I
am killing it on references.
What's
You're
that
on
movie
fire.
about?
Oh, my God.
I don't know what
It's-
that movie is.
It's about bowling and White Russians.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
And getting names
very
confused.
Okay, so along with those recent three games, we'll also be discussing the current success of the bench, the emergence of Corey Brewer, Steven Adams' injury, and the ramifications of that, and then an episode of Current Events brought to you by Justin, based around the Oscars. But first here, I got
You got a little nugget for us?
a weird story of the week.
Wait. Not a disaster?
Not a disaster, just because
It's just super strange?
it's good to be a little bit different. It's pretty strange. Did you guys ever kind of think about being astronauts?
Yeah.
You have? Well,
Yeah.
I got good news for you.
I can be?
Well, so NASA is doing this thing where they're trying to get, they're, doing a little discovery. They're trying to get a little bit closer to the sun or see what they can learn from the Earth's star.
Uh-huh.
And so you can send your name on the trip that they are taking to sort of do some discovery of the sun. Does that sound interesting to you guys? Anybody?
Just my name, though?
Yeah, just your name. Yeah, you can't. I said you could be an astronaut. You can't really.
Your name can
I'm
be.
never going to be an astronaut. Okay.
So NASA is sort of selling this as want to get the hottest ticket this summer without standing in line. So NASA is
little wordplay there.
NASA is inviting people around the world to submit their names online to be placed on a microchip aboard NASA's historic Parker Solar Probe mission, which is launching this summer. Yeah?
That's neat.
That is pretty
Yeah.
neat. The mission will travel through the sun's atmosphere facing brutal heat and radiation conditions, and your name can go along for the ride. This is the
Do you
very...
have to pay for this?
I don't know. I didn't look that deep into it. But I will say they're using William Shatner as the pitchman for this.
He has a little bit to do with space travel.
Evidently. I'm
Maybe
not a
just a
big
little.
Star Trek person.
Hey, do you want your name to go to the sun?
The sun.
So they're also telling us understanding the sun has always been a top priority for space scientists.
Very, very important thing in space is the sun.
Studying how the sun affects space and the space environment of planets is the field known as heliophysics. You guys big
aware?
heliophysics
I'm
fans?
sure he knows all about heliophysics.
I know of it. I didn't.
Ah,
I'm more of a biology and
water
physical
person.
sciences kind of guy.
Really into the water.
Yeah.
So the spacecraft that's going up, it's about the size of a small car and will travel directly into the sun's atmosphere about 4 million miles from the star's surface.
Are they just trying to copy off Tesla?
Maybe.
They're like, well, they send a car. We can send a car. But we're going to send ours into the sun.
Yeah.
Take that, Elon.
All right, so submissions will be accepted until April 27th, 2018. You can learn more. You can go to nasa.gov/hot ticket. Get your name on the list.
I like how you went a little educational with it this week.
I thought
Interesting.
I thought it was kind of I thought it was different. It was definitely different.
I'm looking this up right now.
Yeah, Justin's
Don't
gonna
get too into it.
Justin's gonna put his name on the list.
He's
as
out
we
for the rest
speak.
of the podcast. He's signing up to go to the sun.
All right, should we do a little Rob's rundown?
Let's get into the rundown.
All right, so as I said, we have 3 games to talk about. The first one at home against the Rockets. And the thing about the Rockets are really good. And so even if you play your best, like you could still lose to the Rockets.
That is very true.
You play extremely sloppy, like the Thunder did, then you're almost definitely going to lose, right?
Yeah,
that's not gonna end well for you. The Thunder shot the ball worse, had fewer rebounds, assists, blocks, and shot way fewer free throws. Not a good combination. Thunder lose 122 to 112. We talked a little bit about this game during our midweek pod, but I don't know.
I thought that was a solid breakdown of the game.
It was
that
so
they,
good. Yeah.
They made less points. They shot worse.
They had fewer rebounds, assists, blocks, and
They did less basketball.
Yeah,
Goodness.
all the way around.
It was not as good.
Okay, so the next game we have here was at home against the Suns. And so now this is the good of the week.
That was better.
Yeah, the Thunder playing the
Sounds
Suns.
better basketball.
The Thunder playing the Suns for the first time in just under a week. It was sort of, like a get-right game for the Thunder, if you will. Like, they had been winning, but, like, they were
Not
ugly.
well.
Yeah, they were ugly wins and just wasn't pretty.
Then they had that real ugly loss.
Yeah,
So this was
Yeah, this was a good game. Corey Brewer in his 3rd game with the team gets the start. Looks completely the starting lineup, the whole team really looks completely different. I mentioned this on the aftershock, but the Thunder had all 5 starters score in double figures for the first time since January 4th.
wow.
That's over 2 months of playing games where you didn't have all of your starters score in double figures.
Points.
That was still with Robertson.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, you look at some of those games, and like the Thunder weren't even getting close. Like you could kind of accept it if some
Couple had
Houston,
8.
Yeah, Houston scored 8 points. Like you could let that
Yeah.
slide. They
It was
weren't
more
even
like
getting
2
close.
people had 2 points. You're like, what the
But this game against the Suns, really good stuff from the Thunder all the way around as they win 115 to 87. It was it was just a complete game from the Thunder where you kind of had a team down and you didn't let them back up.
Right. And yeah, it was just nice to see them finally like handily win a game where you weren't worried at all at any point of the game.
Right.
Like,
the largest lead of that game was 29, and the Thunder ended up winning by 28.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
yeah, that's exactly what you want. You anything, Justin?
No, that game. No, I love those games where because I have this problem of doing it. Like when we're beating the crap out of a team like that, I start to kind of like not pay as much attention and just like trying to enjoy
Right.
holy shit, we're winning a game by 30. I'm just gonna enjoy this.
Right.
Not try and break everything down.
Speaking of, so then you have the Spurs at home. And this was kind of what we just enjoyed with the Suns. Obviously better competition here with the Spurs, but they let the Spurs back in it. So this was, by far, this was the biggest game of the season so far.
Huge game.
With the logjam of teams in the West, you have Kawhi coming back shortly. You're at home. Like, so important for the Thunder to get a win. The Thunder were in control for most of the game. I think they led by 21 at one point. It's just weird to me to kind of see the current Spurs, like how
It's
just
very strange.
sloppy they play. Like, just totally weird for a Popovich team. It's just not something that you're really used to. In a game where Steven Adams leaves early, we're really going to get into that. The Thunder could have folded, but they didn't. The Thunder win 94 to 104. Maybe
That
one
son
of
of a bitch, Bertans, man.
Oh yeah,
He can shoot.
yeah, he can, and he kind of hit Russ in the sternum a little bit.
Ooh.
That
I don't know. I was way up top, man.
Jason so I do want you to say that Jason at the game. We talked a little about this before we started this pod. Like whenever you're at the games, you have no idea what's actually happening.
Very far up, typically. Also, I have a couple drinks. You know, I get a couple drinks in me. I'm having some chats. I don't necessarily see every minutia of the game.
Well, every minutia as being.
I don't think that sentence worked.
You
but
didn't.
All
He
the
didn't.
minutia would be.
Yeah, that's the word.
He
I was
didn't
looking for.
understand that Steven Adams rolled his ankle and wasn't coming or was
Yeah, I
questionable.
was like, "Where's Steve?"
Wasn't coming back.
It's just, I had to watch it today. I was like, "Damn, that didn't look great." So
Didn't realize that Bertans like kind of hit Russ, and that's why Russ.
I'm upset
went
about
down.
it
Yeah, I can see
tell
you
you
getting
that.
fired up. So the Thunder had 6 turnovers in the first quarter, only 9 the rest of the way, compared to 24 assists. Taking care of the basketball has been an issue, especially recently for this team. So a little concerning at the beginning of the game, but then they got it figured out. And the fact that they had, 24 assists compared to 15 turnovers, that's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
You'll take that, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, just in these past 2 games, a big thing that we're talking about during that stretch of like barely winning and everything like that, Russ has been so much better.
Yeah.
Like he's just got that feeling of like controlling the game again.
Right.
And I think that's been a huge difference lately. Like he just looks so much more comfortable and confident.
It's probably, well, other than Corey Brewer recently, I mean, that's like Russ's play is probably the biggest difference that we've seen.
And you can almost say that Corey Brewer kind of helps him with that, right? Because he's like cutting and moving again.
Yeah, so let's get into the Corey Brewer starting thing.
Yeah. Because you talked about this some on your Aftershock, and I thought it was really good what you were saying. Like
it was really good. Yeah, let me be honest with you. That's a great point.
It was the best one.
But no, I did, because you look at what Corey Brewer brings to this team, and like what you had with Hustis, Ferguson, and Abrinas. Like you have young guys that don't necessarily know how to play in the NBA completely yet.
Right.
Whenever you look at Corey Brewer, you have a guy who's played all over the place. Like he's played with, and he's actually spoke about that, like he's played with James Harden, who plays a lot like Russell Westbrook to an extent, right? And so like he's already seen and he's already been in a system that was very similar to what we're looking at. And so you just have a guy who moves his feet whenever he's on offense.
Yeah.
Like he's not afraid to move around, especially whenever he doesn't have the ball. And that's so big because like in a game where everybody is so good, like obviously you have really good, and then you have just everybody in the NBA can play.
Yeah.
And so whenever you have a guy that will move without the basketball, just make the defense think about it for a split second, just creates gaps. And these guys are so good that that's what they take advantage of. Like just this just the small, it's like Brandon's here.
Yeah, I had to get him here.
But just the smallest, like little bit of sort of like a little air pocket that you can just kind of take advantage of. Like that's what Corey Brewer creates.
Russ doesn't need a big window. He just needs a little sliver.
Well, and last night, so Brewer like cut under the basket real quick, got a pass from Russ, and he was like right under the basket, and I felt like it just like made me think if that was Hustis or that was Abrinas, they would probably get the ball stripped or something negative would come out of that, right?
Sure.
Or they would miss it. And he just like knew how to go directly up and into the backboard, like just put it up real quick and scored. Like he just understands where he is and knows like the angles to take and what to do. And I mean, it's not like this guy is incredible at basketball or anything. Like he's a really good player, like compared to us. But I mean, like you're gonna see times like last night where they had the 2-on-1 fast break with PG, and he just botches the layup, and it was just like, oh god. No.
I like Brewer in transition. I don't like him when he has the ball, and so, but that one that you're talking about where he tried to just alley it up to him, and I don't know. I mean, that was obviously that was a little bit different, but whenever you have like Russ with him in transition, or somebody else that can really handle the ball, I just think they try to do too much on that particular play. But
they passed it back and forth 6 times.
It was setting up to be
like,
really pretty,
and
then it just wasn't.
Paul George needed to be a little bit more decisive there, I think. But so Corey Brewer, I mean, we talked about in the buyout market, we want some guy that's just like Andre Robertson, and someone that we can bring in, plug and play that Dre role. Corey Brewer's been perfect at that.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why the offense has had so much success. It's the same exact system that they were running when they were really fucking good.
Yeah.
It's that same team. So they trust Corey Brewer. They can give the ball to him. They don't have to worry about, Abrinas is like, okay, if you get the ball behind the 3-point line with an open shot, then that's great. But otherwise, his driving ability not really there. Hughes is kind of the same thing. Same thing. T-Ferg, you don't really know. Because Brewer moves so much, because he's doing that same cutting action that Dre was, it's like that offense has been revitalized. And I think that's been one of the reasons why it's so successful. And then it translates to the bench.
So I do wonder, though, how much of this can we chalk up to... So whenever he first got here, he played against Portland and he was not good. That
was like the day he arrived with the team.
The first 2 games that he played in, he was a minus 34 combined in those 2 games.
Right.
Those were 2 tough games.
It was Portland and Houston.
In Houston, yeah. And so you look at the the guys that he had to guard. What kind of pressure he was under, trying to figure out how he fits in with this new team. And so obviously you can give him a little bit of a break for that.
Yeah.
And then you look at how he's been playing recently, and he has been, he's been great. But like, where do you think that this will eventually fall? Because I think we've seen the 2 extremes,
right?
And so I wonder where
middle ground.
Where in the middle, though, kind of where will he fit? Because you look at him over that 3-game stretch, like right now he's shooting 50% from 3.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. He's been nailing some shots. So I think that's the thing that's kind of going to go away for him. Like, his cutting is still going to be fine, and I think Russ will find him, and the other guys seem to trust him, like passing him the ball and everything. But I think his shot will waver for sure, because he's always kind of been streaky. But.
Yeah. And he also, for these, he's playing like 27 minutes a game over these 3. So where do you guys fall on that? Like, what's a number? So I'll go back to this. Whenever he first came here, I thought 16 over under was a pretty good spot. Well, 27 is way over that. Where do you fall?
I'm kind of landing more around like 24.
Man, it
seems high, but I also think our other options aren't very good.
That's true.
Like he seems to play better with this team than the other options do. So
I'd say around 18 to 20. He's definitely earned more than just that 16, which I totally agreed with you when he got here. But just kind of the things that he can do, and I keep going back to that cutting ability. I think that's so valuable on this offense that 18 to 20, maybe stretching up into 21 is kind of where I'd like to see him.
I think if we had said that whenever they were signing him, like, we would have been like, holy cow, that is insane. Like, this guy's going to get 21, 22 minutes. Like, what does that say for this team? And you look at him play, like, he's just changed. He's changed everything for this team.
Yeah.
It's not just like the energy for that starting lineup, which has been awesome. Like, that has looked completely different than what you were getting from that 2 spot, 100%. At the beginning of or after the Robertson injury. But I still kind of wonder, like, I think we're coming off of this high that he has had, especially in these last 3 games. And so I do just kind of want to temper expectations a little bit.
Right, yeah, because I expect to see games where he just is awful.
Because he shot in the Houston game, I think he was 4 for 10, super aggressive, but not in a smart way.
Yeah. And I expect to see, there's going to be more games like that, right? Like, if there's not, that'd be amazing. But I just assume that that's going to happen. For sure.
I would think so.
But I think, like I said, I think he's the best option to be at that spot. Like, when the starters are on the floor, I don't see another reason not to play him with those guys. And I think moving like Hustis and Abrinas back solidly to the bench, where they're like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing now. Right. I don't have to worry about maybe starting and moving my role all the time. I think they've become more comfortable in that. And I think that's helped them a lot. It's made them more confident, it seems like.
Well, it gets them back to what they were expecting even going into the season.
Exactly.
So I was disappointed that those guys couldn't step up, because if you could have gotten, the in-between ground for what we're talking about with Brewer, like if Hustis, Abrinas, Ferguson, like if one of those guys could have done that, you could have filled a different need. You could have gone big with a buyout or tried to do something different. It was just so clear that this team needed to figure something out to take over what we were missing from Robertson. And so that it was a little disappointing, but you're 100% right. Like, putting those guys back on the bench into what they were expecting to come into this season. Like, I think confidence-wise, just a sense of normalcy for those guys who are bench guys. Like, I think that does wonders for them going forward.
And, just staying, like Alex Abrinas always talks about, like, you have to make other guys uncomfortable when you're playing defense, which she's not that great about, but just that idea of comfortability. Yeah. It's so big and on a basketball court. So real quick on Corey Brewer, have you guys noticed his demeanor on the court and just like kind of around, like he's always smiling?
Yeah, he's upbeat.
Right.
Exactly. Do you think that's bleeding over into the team? Do you
Absolutely.
think
I think so.
Because
And
it kind of took those few days to really get into the team chemistry and just the overall team morale.
for sure. And Billy actually talked, I think this was after the Suns game. He was just loving on Brewer
Yeah,
in the
he
post
loves-
game. He loves this guy so much. But he was talking about how he was like, I'm not comparing Andre and Corey. But he was like, they both have this bounce about them, like their personality. They just have like a bounce about them. And he was like, that kind of
Contagious.
it's contagious.
Yeah. And so, like, I think that's a really good point because morale and when you're losing or when you're winning and you're not looking your best, like, I think that's when guys start to get down on themselves.
Right.
And if you can have a guy that just remains positive out there, I think that really helps. One question I did have about this as well is, what does this mean whenever Robertson comes back next year? This is a guy, obviously, I think you want to keep around, right? Can you imagine having, Corey Brewer on your bench whenever you did have Robertson?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and they need to keep, like, when you look at this, you're looking at a guy who is so low maintenance.
Right.
You can bring him in just to spark off of your bench. It's just really awesome because it's not at all what I was expecting to get.
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I remember like when we bought him out or we signed him off after he got bought out. I was like,
Yeah,
Corey Brewer is what we
Agreed.
ended up with. Because I mean, he's like you said, he's been all around the league, and he was with the Lakers, which you can't expect really anybody to show you anything.
well, and
for
that was a young team. Like, he wasn't being played because they wanted to see what young guys could
Right.
do, and they're just going in a different way.
And I guess this is kind of the upside to what we were talking about when we did get him is, hey, maybe if he gets around these good, like the
Right.
solid core that we have, maybe he's gonna be better.
I will say though, the irony of like you bring in these shooters, and then they come here and it seems like, God, these guys can't shoot whenever they get here. And then you get a guy who struggles to shoot. You bring him in here, and he
He's
can't
incredible.
miss. Like, you put that guy in the corner. At least, here's another thing. Patrick Patterson in those corners shoots so well from three.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you now have another guy who can also be out there. And you look at, like, Houston, you look at Golden State, and they just kill you in those situations. You penetrate, and you have a guy that's standing out there that can make that shot. I'm not saying Corey Brewer is going to shoot 50% from three going forward, but, even if he comes down
Just
a
that
little
he has the ability to hit the corner three.
yeah, and he looks really comfortable in those situations.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you guys realize that Corey Brewer's birthday was on Monday?
I did not.
I didn't either.
Right before the Rockets game. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's 32, and wanted to double check that. I'm like, March 5th.
We're
His birthday
Oh,
was
wow.
on Monday.
We're birthday buddies. Month.
Yeah, not
It's close enough.
okay.
I celebrate my birthday month, so I'm going all hard all month long. So
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I can't believe that we missed his birthday. I think we
know.
should
Yeah, I
apologize
feel
to
bad.
him.
Shit, sorry, Corey.
There
a
you
little
go.
bad for
The
that.
brewmaster. We love you.
Happy birthday, dear friend. We sing to you. Happy birthday.
Okay.
What a
Mr.
perfect sounder just to have. All right. So one other thing I did want to talk about here, we have Steven Adams go down during the Spurs game.
Did he though? No. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly. He turned his ankle. The Thunder don't have practice today. I saw quite a few of the Thunder beat writers were talking about this, but there's no practice today for the Thunder. They're going to have treatment day, so maybe we'll hear an update later today. It might not come until tomorrow. I don't know, but like that's extremely scary.
Yes.
Like you cannot be without Steven Adams, especially the position that you've put yourself in so far this season. Like you can't, if Steven Adams is out for, like, let's say he's out for 2 weeks, and the Thunder were calling this a sprained, they were calling it a sprain.
Yeah.
And so that was during the game. And so we at least have that. And so it does sound like with a sprain, maybe, it's going to be probably, as long as nothing is torn in there.
Well, I mean, he was able to put weight on it and walk off the court.
Yeah, but
is
still,
good, but-
with adrenaline going, it's just
Yeah.
it's really hard to know. But
It seemed not as bad as your sprain, I will say that.
yeah. Well, he's also Steven Adams, and I'm not. He doesn't understand pain, I don't
That
think.
is very true.
So maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't. Let's go worst case scenario. Let's say he misses.
We fucked.
Well, no, I get
It's the
that.
worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, obviously, he misses the rest of the regular season. I don't want to go that
God.
far. I don't want to go that far.
You just mean like
let's say he misses the next 2 weeks of this regular season.
oof,
Oh,
that's really bad. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
bad.
So how do the Thunder get by? So we're gonna
Mr.
see.
Collison, I guess.
So who would start? Would you go Jeremy Grant? I think the options there are Jeremy Grant, Patrick Patterson, or you're going to be looking at Nick
Dakari.
Collison.
or Dakari.
It could be Dakari.
Because Dakari started when
Yeah,
Steven
and
Adams
he-
was out
he
early.
did
It depends
okay.
on the matchup.
He did, yeah.
I mean, I think you have to use him in that scenario. You're going to see him, right? They're not going to just not play Dakari, right?
No,
That'd be
you-
weird.
You have to
Probably.
play him. Just for the roster depth. It's still March. You're not
Yeah.
trying to shrink your bench to 8.
Because we saw
Or
last
shrink
night,
your
I mean,
team to 8.
Collison played really well when called upon.
Yeah.
But he's got about 9 minutes in the
Yeah.
tank. That's
Yeah, you
every
could-
night you can expect a solid 9 minutes.
You could definitely, like, if there was a bell graph on that,
Yeah.
like, you could see it going up, and then you could really see
You
it
can
coming
just
down.
crash and burn
Yeah.
right at that mark. So I don't think you could depend on him for a long period of time, but you definitely can get him some minutes. And he's just solid all the time, which was awesome. And I think Patterson really stepped up last night, too. He had a great game. So I wouldn't mind seeing Patterson start, but I would think you would just bring out Dakari just because of keeping Patterson's role.
I still think it kind of depends on matchups.
Yeah.
Like you've got the Clippers on March 16th. Dakari has to start there. He's the one that is best suited to match up with DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, it's scary to think about somebody like Jeremy Grant trying to
Yeah.
Yeah.
hold that down.
But then you've got like the Celtics. I think you can get away with like a Jeremy Grant or a Patrick Patterson. 'Cause I don't think Dakari on Horford is like that big of a deal. So it really depends on the matchup that you've got. Dakari is really valuable when you've got that like bigger, slower guy.
Right.
But when it comes to someone that moves around, that shoots really well,
it's kinda
maybe
scary.
it's time to look at someone else.
Maybe Pat in that situation.
The scary thing is how close the Western Conference is
Yeah.
right now, and so
Right.
hopefully Adams won't miss any time at all.
Yeah,
But
because, I mean, you think if he's out for the 2 weeks, like you said, I mean, I don't expect us to win a ton of games without him. Like, he's so valuable to
well,
this
they
team.
play the Clippers, Dakari started against the Clippers, right?
Well, yeah.
And they won that game. That was early on in the season. They still have.
I mean, like, going against Zebo, like, I guess Collison, that's his perfect game.
You could have Collison there. I even think you can get by with like Patterson there.
Yeah.
That's a game that
They might-
like Justin was talking about with matchups.
Yeah,
So
they might
so
be
there's
all right.
there's guys that they can get by with, but then you're also looking at how does that affect. It seems like every time we sort of start to feel like maybe they're going to get this figured out,
Something
there's
happens.
something else that happens, and it sort of feels to me like there's some kind of a jinx or there's some kind of there's some bad juju on this season is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it feels like
it does feel that way.
it feels like maybe it's just not meant to be, and what a
We're
terrible
like the little
time.
engine that couldn't.
yeah.
That's what we
What a
are.
terrible time because we need success this year. Obviously, everybody knows. Trying to make a pitch, championship, beat that to Paul George, and so they can retain Paul George. But God, it just feels like one thing after another. Let us just be at full strength and let's.
Yeah, let us just win.
Yeah, let us
Let
just
us
win.
win.
So let's flip this around then, since this has been really sad thinking about Steven Adams missing an extended period of time. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I've been to one. I've gotten X-rays on my ankle. I've seen
also
like
have
all
been
that,
to a
all
doctor.
that's happened. But just looking at what Steven Adams did in that game, it didn't like he didn't have the bone on the floor kind of
Yeah.
ankle turn. It's just, and it wasn't like a side down. It was kind of like the toe got caught
It
and
was the
kind of
toe,
rolled through.
right.
I'm hoping that's a lot easier of an injury to come back from.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's just a grade 1, we're fine.
Oh yeah. So I just went through the grade 3.
Not
which-
a good time.
Yeah.
And you had
I
a
had the
2?
grade 2, yeah.
I had 2 torn ligaments. Like this thing still hurts in the morning, and I'm a little over a month.
Way to go,
a month
Brandon.
Out of it, yeah. Brandon, he hurt me, and then he went to
Also,
Vegas.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, Justin.
Yeah.
But-
Mine's just a grade 2. I'm on 3 weeks, and it's like I can't really run or jog. Like I could put all my weight on it. It's fine. It's just like really achy.
If he has a grade 1, it's mostly just going to be about pain management, and I think you tape it up.
Yeah, you
and
Give him a
and
couple
he'll be-
shots.
No, I don't
Right?
think
Do they do that anymore? They shoot him up and get out there on the floor.
But he should be able to tape it up, and it'll be about just trying to deal with the pain during the game. But
Well, and if that's all it is, we're talking about Steven Adams.
yeah,
He doesn't even
100%.
know what that is. So.
He ran into Terrence Ferguson. They smashed
Oh my
faces
God, dude.
together, and Terrence Ferguson got knocked out.
So I was at
Steven Adams
so I
just
was,
stood there.
Yeah, he's just immediately calling like this guy's hurt. Like
so I was
killed
at
him.
I was at that game, and
I like these humble brags. Like, yeah. By the way, I was
I was
at
up high again.
all of these games.
and
I was
so
at.
I just saw them collide, and saw Ferguson just drop like a fly to the floor.
Yeah.
Like he just instantly hit the floor, and I didn't actually see the head hit until I looked at it yesterday and was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Like just like sprinting headbutt into Steven Adams' face.
And
Adams didn't even notice.
no, he didn't.
Didn't care at all.
I thought that Ferguson hit Adams' shoulder at
That's what I
first
thought.
because of the reaction where Adams was just calling over. But I mean, that's still, and we should say Terrence Ferguson, the Thunder verified like it was a concussion. He did some stuff at shoot around yesterday before the Spurs game. And so it sounds like he's okay. He'll be back.
I'm surprised
shortly.
his skull is intact.
Yeah, it looked
looks
really bad.
Crazy.
In regards, though, to Steven Adams, just to sort of bring that back, you do still have, like, you look at the Spurs game, like, with no Steven Adams, the Spurs were just getting in the lane.
Yeah.
The job that Steven Adams has been doing inside the paint, on the defensive end, obviously we talk a lot about offensive rebounds, but on the defensive end, like, you just look at, like, the guy who patrols the paint makes it difficult for everybody else. Like, whenever you lose that, like, you're losing a lot. And if you give teams the confidence to be able to sort of own that area, that's the dangerous part for me. And that's the scary part. And that's the part that I think the Thunder have to figure out the most.
Yeah. And I mean, like his defensive ability lately has been awesome. Like in that Phoenix game, he had 3 blocks that were just brutal too.
Oh, that
Like,
one, the breakout block with Corey Brewer.
It was so awesome. But I mean, it's funny to me about Steven Adams, like how much we've been raving about him this year and how that still feels like we're not talking about him enough.
Right.
And like saying enough good things about him. Because he's been incredible. Like, and you're right. Like we keep talking about his offense or his rebounds, but his defense has just been off the charts this year, I feel like.
Yeah, he's been so good. So hopefully it's nothing serious. We should have some news hopefully later on tonight. If not tonight, it should be tomorrow.
Or if you're listening.
If you're listening tomorrow, it would be
it'll be-
today.
Yeah.
But so hopefully everything's okay. It's nothing serious. The Thunder absolutely need Steven Adams to be out there as much as possible.
Agreed.
Ooh.
We should also speak about the Thunder bench, which has been more so than just holding their own. The bench has been good.
Yeah.
The bench has been really good
Which
recently.
is weird because we were just talking about how they couldn't play basketball yesterday.
Yeah, we were wondering like where were points going to come from, especially during the playoffs. Like who could you actually trust?
Yeah.
And you look at guys like Jeremy Grant, Patrick Patterson has like started to step up. I think you can make the case Billy hasn't been playing him enough this season. Maybe that Carmelo missing that game, Patterson came in. He started. He played really well. He's kind of continued, especially against the Spurs, to play well. And so, you guys, if we revisit sort of what do you expect going into the playoffs from the bench, you feel a little bit more confident now, I would assume, that you can actually count on these guys a little bit at least.
Feel a little bit better about them. Yeah. I mean, I think last night was their season high. What did the bench had like 50 points or something like that, wasn't it?
56, or something like
Yeah,
that.
so I mean, it was their
season.
season high for bench scoring, which was really nice to see, especially in a time where you lose Adams. And I mean, we obviously needed their help last night. I mean, Russ struggled early to get his shot to fall, so it was nice to see some guys step up. But I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier: is them knowing the roles now, like kind of the bench being solidified again as what they were supposed to be. I think that makes them more comfortable and confident. It feels like Alex Abrines getting to play with Nick Collison in that Phoenix game made him confident again. I think he needs Nick with him. It makes me feel better.
When Abrines shoots the ball with confidence, like it just obviously is better off for this team, because a lot of times I think, or at least the way it looks to me, is he just gets down or he starts thinking a little bit too much about it. And as a shooter, like it just needs to be natural. Like you just need to go into it, and you've done it so many times that it's just another shot.
Yeah.
And with Abrines, I think too often it just kind of looks like maybe he gets in his own head on because of missing shots, not getting playing time, not playing good on defense. I don't know. Maybe it's just a combination.
Fouling constantly.
Yeah. I mean, it could be all of that stuff, but
He only had one foul last night. Good job, buddy.
good job. He absolutely has been playing better. There's still times where you see, I think it was against Phoenix, where Abrines came in the first half, kind of held his own. He looked okay, and then you look at the second half, and he doesn't really play until the game is out of hand, and that's when Billy brings him in.
And that's kind of weird for your confidence, but
It is, yeah.
There's something to be said about the cohesiveness and the trust with this bench unit, and obviously since Corey Brewer gets here, you get that bench back intact, and all of a sudden they look incredible again. Early in the season we talked about how these roles were changing so much. Billy Donovan was being so experimental with these lineups that it felt like the bench never really had something that was consistent.
Right.
And so the bench really struggled. And then we go back to that December, January period where they started to figure some things out and things were trending in the right direction. The bench was playing better. It was a cohesive, consistent unit. And now we've got that again. Last night, the starters were what did I put? Minus 13. The bench, with their season high 50 points, plus 63.
Yeah.
wow.
That's
crazy.
insane.
The only, which we haven't really talked about Collison a bunch, but he was the only minus on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, he's never been a minus. In his
Which if you
career. I
just
don't
watched the
believe
game, you'd be like, "There's no way." Like
that's
he
not
was the
possible.
highest possible that you, the highest positive you could have been.
Yeah, he's a plus 1,000.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
But I do agree. Like I think Justin brings up a good point, and part of this is on Billy Donovan with how much he was just chalk it up to whatever you want, like just trying to find out the right lineup for that bench, or trying to just get the pieces to work, not getting the looks that he wanted from certain guys, whatever. Like there was just so many changes and so many different lineups. And so I do wonder how much of a hindrance that was to this bench to try and figure it out, because there was just no ability to build up cohesion or to kind of get some sort of normalcy out of these are the guys that I'm going to be out here with.
Right.
This is just,
And especially after Robertson went down. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, a new one of them is starting every week, and they're like, well, shit. I
and
don't-
nobody was doing well.
Yeah, and that can't help them when they go back to the bench. Like, oh, I didn't do it.
Right.
Damn
yeah.
it.
You can't count on
Now
me.
I can't even do this. Damn it. One crazy thing to me last night about the bench having their season high in scoring, Raymond Felton had 2 points. That's If you would have told me, like, hey, the bench is going to score a ton of points, I'd be like, yeah, Ray's going to go off. And
So how many guys can you count on in the playoffs? Obviously, you're going to count on Raymond Felton, Jeremy Grant.
And Pat.
And so are you going to throw Patterson in there in the playoffs? You're going to you think Patterson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do wonder. So those are the three guys. I don't think you can throw anybody else in there, especially not at this point, that you're going to feel confident
Yeah, I mean,
whenever you get in those situations. Because you desperately need, like, it would be, like, so important to have Alex Abrines shooting the ball well going into the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, if he can do that,
If he can do that.
then you can trust him.
You know,
But if he can't,
So
you can't.
so you found a way to waffle on that.
Did it.
So for the playoffs, I think, obviously those are your three guys that you absolutely like hang your hat on playing. I think you always have that ninth spot open, and it's kind of a flex position. Depending, and it's all situational. You need a big stop on defense, and they've got a wing scorer that you're a little bit worried about. You can throw Hustis out there to kind of bring that balance on defense again.
Which Hustis in the Spurs game?
Yeah.
So good.
Solid
Yeah,
game.
absolutely. if you need a big shot, I think you can stick Alex Abrinas out there with a little bit of confidence, knowing that the ball is probably not going to get to him. Well, let's say it swings to the corner and Melo swings it back to above the break, and Abrinas is there. You feel good about him being there rather than, I don't know, Corey Brewer kind of scares you a little bit.
Probably so.
And Hustis definitely scares you a little bit. So I think he's a good guy to have out there.
But with Abrinas, like you have to, and we talked about this every time we talk about Abrinas, we talk about this, but you have to get him shots.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to have him out there if you're not going to try and run plays specifically to get him the ball. Like those, whatever you want, baseline screens, however you want, like he has to, and maybe this is more so than anything else, like maybe that can be what Brewer adds to some of these other guys, like just showing them like here's whenever the ball is here, like you need to be running here, like you have to be moving, you need to find your open spots. Like I hope that you have in practice, like I just imagine maybe irrationally, like they're on the court and Brewer is just standing there and he's like, move, like run, Abrinas, move. Yeah.
So I mean, I think, especially like, we were playing a bunch of pickup, and it's like you have to like feel out because when they're not running a set every single time down the floor,
sure,
especially not the bench. So you get to a situation where if you're not running a set, these guys, like, it almost feels like they don't know where to be.
Yeah.
And so hopefully Corey Brewer is the kind of guy that'd be like, okay, when the ball moves here, when it moves to the elbow, you need to clear out here. You need to make yourself available over here. You've got to do something with your body rather than just standing there because it doesn't make sense.
That doesn't help it.
Yeah.
And this is all like that's so basic. Like you learn this stuff in high school on how to fill a lane, or just moving without like they should already know a lot of that stuff. So just the thought of Corey Brewer having to work with Alex Abrinas on that, and we are talking about.
I don't know if European schools.
Well, and I do want to say that we have seen sort of it is just different, right? It's just different over there. So
I mean, it seems like the European players the Spurs know how to do that stuff. So I don't know.
Well, it's also they have a really good coach teaching these guys what they should be doing. So the next, I do also want to talk about Carmelo Anthony. Really been struggling, especially recently, but all season we've talked about the struggles that he's had.
Rough, just the way your mother likes it.
It's been quite rough.
It has. Is this the low so far this season for Melo after the Spurs game?
2 points.
Which those 2 points came on one dunk.
It was a cool dunk, though.
It was a great dunk, yeah, sure.
Little
but
roll off.
1 of 8. You're expected to be this spot up shooter that like that. I mean, that's why we got you. Is you're supposed to be this guy that like you get the ball at the elbow, you back a guy down, you have that little turnaround, or you hit those above the break threes, like especially as a trailer. But like that's what we expected. We expected Olympic Melo and a little bit the classic takeover.
We expected
turnaround jumper Melo, and none of it's panning out.
So is he just uncomfortable, or is he just old, or is it both, or is he not good?
It's a lot of just looking old.
Things.
Like I think it's a lot of
Collison is old.
like
He
Hoodie
looks
Melo was so much crap. Like that was the most crap we've ever been fed. Like, hey, wait, Hoodie Melo's coming in, and this is gonna be so cool.
Could we
like,
get one sewn onto his jersey, and maybe he'll be better?
I don't know. It just wasn't. This is not what we expected. Whenever we knew that Carmelo Anthony was coming here, but I do think that this is the low so far this season for Melo. Whenever you go 1 for 8, 0 for 3, and it wasn't just like if you just look at that line, it's really bad. But whenever you watch him, it's even worse.
Yeah. And
so many open looks.
Yeah, they were
and
wild.
maybe that's something you can sort of put your hat on, that those were open looks that he was missing, and they were in and out. Like there were a few of those where they were halfway down and then they came out, and maybe it is just an off night, but it felt a little bit more than that. And not to say like Melo's done. Like obviously this means like start Patterson, which we're not going to get into that, but like there's a case to be made, and especially there's a case like we talked about the bench. There's definitely a case to be made that Carmelo needs to give some of those minutes should be going to Patterson and Grant. Mm-hmm. But just in terms of Melo, and we've talked a lot about how Melo doesn't do hardly anything else. Which against the Spurs, he had 7 rebounds. I mean, that's a positive. That's anytime you're going to get 7 rebounds from Melo, you'll absolutely take that. I thought he did okay. He kind of held his own defensively, which is really tough because
he was
you're
going
looking
against
at having to
LaMarcus.
guard LaMarcus, who has a huge height advantage, especially whenever you take into account like the fadeaway jumper that he can
Right.
do, where he just creates space. There's nothing you can do. I thought Melo did a really good job of pushing him out enough, making it a little bit more difficult for him to get to his spots. I still think this is the low for Melo, and I think we're gonna start seeing even more people screaming about how you shouldn't be playing him.
He played all right against the Rockets.
Yeah, well, here's what I'll say.
So
Here's also the Thunder won by 10 and Melo was a minus 13. Like if you think about that, like that is so bad. And I also want to mention like Paul George recently as well. Like has not been for the most part has not been consistent, nowhere near consistent enough. 1 for 8 from 3 against the Spurs.
yeah, since the All-Star break, his shot has been gone.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And you look at Paul George over this 3-game stretch. He shot 30% from 3 and 37.5% from the field.
Is that bad?
You just
It
need
is
more.
not good.
You just need more, and maybe it's a good thing because the Thunder are sort of getting by. Like you're still winning
Right.
these games. You're losing really bad to the good teams, and for the Thunder to be able to win those games, Paul George is going to have to play so much better. You need more out of Carmelo Anthony. But those two guys that they've brought in have got to start stepping up, especially on this run that we're getting. These games, closing out this regular season, those guys have to be so much better.
Yeah, and like I said, hopefully they'll kind of get out of this rut. I mean, I would expect Paul George to absolutely start shooting well again. It'd be so strange if he just kept this up through the end of the season. That would be terrible. Like, I have no hope for us if that happens. But
Sure.
I just don't see that happen. Like, he's been such a good shooter his whole career. Like, I just feel like he's going to get out of it soon. I do feel like Melo could even get comfortable some way again. I would hope. But I just, like, I do think he played solid defense last night, which was weird.
Yeah.
It was confusing to me because I was like, I thought that was the thing you didn't do, and you did the other thing.
Yeah.
But now, what?
Yeah.
So
Just inconsistent.
Yeah.
They
they just
those
need to be
guys.
better.
So what do you guys expect from Melo in the playoffs minutes wise? We talked a little bit about minutes in the playoffs. What do you expect Melo to do in terms of minutes?
I assume that he's going to stay around what he's been playing. I mean, he's going to stay around the 25 to 30 minutes, which is kind of scary.
A little bit, yeah.
But unless he can step up in the big moments. Like, I mean, when we've played good teams this year, he has played well for the most part. And so I feel like maybe it's kind of the old thing where he's just like, regular season isn't a big deal to him. And he's just going to step up then. But I feel like we keep counting on that too. And then that's going to bite us. So,
I mean, the playoffs are a grind, but you already know your schedule. It's every other day, and then 2 days for travel in a playoff series. You kind of find your legs again. Like there's that little bit of a break when the season ends compared to when the playoffs start. So, and I think you just refocus and you turn it back up. I think Melo is capable of doing that. Having said that, I mean, he needs to stay around that like 29 to 30 minute range. I think that's the most effective for him, and I think you allow yourself to put in a Patrick Patterson or a Jeremy Grant in enough situations for them to be successful.
Agreed. And so the Thunder have moved in with beating the Spurs. The Thunder have moved into the 5th spot in the Western Conference.
Yay.
Where do you guys? I love the idea of doing this so often, just to see how far we fall. But where are you guys at now? You guys feel like you're confident that they'll finish?
I think I was like, what, 60% that they get the 3rd seed?
I don't see how you could feel worse about that.
It feels okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I'm sitting around there still.
The Blazers have won 9 games in a row.
That's crazy to me.
I just can't believe.
I feel like, someone mentioned on YouTube earlier that their schedule to close out the season is apparently super tough. as well as the Spurs, is the hardest, I believe.
Yeah, I wish I had written that down. The Trailblazers, they have like one of the top 3. I don't think it was the hardest, but it was like top 3 hardest schedules according to record-wise for the rest of the season. So,
and they're a bit of a bipolar team sometimes. It was Big Virgil, by the way. But they're a bit of a bipolar team sometimes. Like they've been having during the stretch of winning, they've had one of the best defenses in the league. But I remember last season they went on a stretch of having great defense, and then all of a sudden it just fell off and was terrible. Like it was one of the worst in the league. So they seem to do that every once in a while. They'll just it just falls off.
Well, and so you had brought up the third, maybe possibly getting to the 3rd seed. You look at like the Pelicans, like how much are they going to continue with? Like Anthony Davis was incredible over that stretch where they kind of made that push a little bit, and so I do think you're looking at that team that's going to regress. The Trailblazers, obviously, they're not going to continue, a crazy streak. But to say that, could they hold on? You look at tiebreakers. I believe the Trailblazers hold the tiebreaker over the Thunder.
For sure.
And so that's another sort of hurdle that you would have to sort of get over there. And so I don't know. It's really tough for me to imagine the Thunder taking over the 3rd seed, but I think the 4th seed I think is 100% something that is not crazy to think that the Thunder will get to that point.
Aren't we just a half game back?
Yeah.
Pelicans.
They're 2 in the loss column and 1 in the win column, so they're a game back from the 4 seed right now.
2 games back in the loss column, but technically because of games played, it works out to a half game. But yeah, 2 games back in the loss column is really what you have to look at.
Yeah.
It's you look at this shit's stressful, man. But in their last 10 games, the top 4 seeds, so Houston, Golden State, Portland, New Orleans, 35-5 combined.
Yeah.
35-5. That's insane.
That is crazy.
They're just going back to it, New Orleans, I don't think what Anthony Davis is doing is sustainable in any way possible.
But he also got hurt the other day.
Again?
Yeah. So it's he twisted his ankle. I think
okay.
The whole point is that Anthony Davis gets hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And so
yes, he does.
He is an incredible player, but to think that he'll be able to maintain any sort of semblance of what he was doing during their winning streak is just not realistic.
Yeah.
Jrue Holiday is playing out of his mind too. That's not sustainable at all. But in Portland, going back to what we were saying about their defenses, but I don't think they're that great of a defensive team. So, yeah, I think they come crashing back to earth. Mm-hmm. And obviously, we're not going to expect anything different from Houston, Golden State. We know that they're that good.
So, are you to the point where you're thinking 3 seed? Or?
No, I'm not. I still think so you're looking at 40-26 for Portland, Oklahoma City 39-29. That's 3 games back in the loss column. You still have to make up that 1 for the tiebreaker. I just think that's a little bit too little too late for Oklahoma City to get up to that 3 seed. Even if Portland does come crashing back to earth, they've still got Damian Lillard, they've still got C.J. McCollum. They're going to win some games, and I think they win enough games to kind of fend off Oklahoma City in the standings. I don't think New Orleans does. I think we end up at that 4 seed.
Agreed. So we talked about doing a little segment here, current events with Justin. You guys want to do that?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Let me pull up my thing. Okay, so last Sunday, March 3rd, or it wasn't March 3rd? Am I off my? No, sorry, March 4th. I'm off on my days. It was my mom's birthday though.
Oh. Wait, that seems like a weird day
Happy
to
birthday.
forget.
Oh.
No, I mean it didn't matter that the Oscars were on my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday was what was important.
All right.
So anyways, last Sunday were the 90th Academy Awards held at the Dolby Theater in downtown Los Angeles. Among the winners were The Shape of Water, that won for the best film. Gary Oldman was best actor. Frances McDormand was best actress, and Dear Basketball won the best animated short film. Dear Basketball is Kobe Bryant's short film based on a letter he wrote to the Players Tribune in 2015 announcing his official retirement from basketball.
As a basketball fan, it is pretty cool. I watched a lot of the Oscars, even though I have seen none of the movies.
I didn't know you watched movies ever.
No, most of the movies I've watched are with Jackson. They're like kids movies. But I will say, like, as a basketball fan, it's super cool to see Kobe Bryant up there, winning an award for something like that. I mean, it's
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Just saying, how long has Leonardo DiCaprio been trying to win an Oscar, and he finally won one, and then Kobe steps
just
up,
like, bro, it's not that hard.
1 for 1.
Come on.
Hey, his Oscar percentage is better than his shooting percentage was late in his career. I've gained so much more respect for Kobe since he retired, just being able to look back and be like, man, you really were an amazing player. I hated you when you were playing us, but damn. So anyways, let's take the Thunder players. Let's get in on this Oscar train. If the guys made their own documentaries, animated shorts, feature-length films, or whatever they want to do, what would they be called and what would they be about?
All right. I'm going to go with Russ here. He's going to make a film called I'm Coming. What starts as a buddy cop movie quickly turns bad when the perceived good guy cop, Kevin Slithers, turns to be a plant from the mob. But the hardworking and relentless partner left hanging, Brody Rustbrook, takes him and his entire crew down. Sounds like a badass film. I think we should make this film.
Okay,
I love how into this you got.
I got real into that one, and then the rest fall off. From there.
You know what? We're just gonna shut this down right now. That's all we need. that is it. Just cut it.
Who's next?
Okay, so I had one with Russell Westbrook. Nick Collison and Russell Westbrook. They remake the sequel, or they create the sequel of White Man When White Men Can't Jump, because I can't talk. And they do it before that, because there is one that's reportedly coming out with Blake
that's
Griffin in
probably
it.
not going to be good.
Yeah, and now that he's moved to Detroit, though, I don't know if that's going to happen. So Russ and Nick need to jump on the train, make White Men Can't Jump.
I like it because they had the Halloween costumes that were incredible.
What else you got?
All right, no. So I got one for Mello. It's called Still Got It. A movie where an older basketball star experiences a reality where he can still play at the level he did in his prime, but he most definitely does not do that in actual reality. So it's kind of like a split reality film, little sci-fi there.
It could be like a dream, like he wakes up, he's like dreaming, and then at the end you realize he's just
the whole
dreaming, and
time
he
he's
just-
been terrible.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
So, spoiler alert, by the way. If you haven't seen 500 Days of Summer, probably just
great movie.
tune this out for the next 20 seconds.
It's
or so. The expectations versus reality.
Exactly.
Like that's just the entire movie.
Yeah.
It's clips of Melo this season versus clips of Melo with a Thunder jersey superimposed on his highlights from like Syracuse and Denver
Exactly.
and stuff.
Exactly.
All right. So Two Pat just makes a documentary on how awesome all films are, and he calls it Confessions of a Cinephile.
I like it. I've got one for Adams. He's just going to make a movie of his autobiography that's coming out, and it's going to be amazing.
Oh,
it's called The
absolutely.
Kiwi Life.
I like
So
it.
good.
It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
So
If he narrates it, I will.
Yeah,
say.
that's an
Like,
Oscar-winning
He has
movie
to do
right
that.
yeah, mate. So Raymond Felton and Steven Adams,
Oh, God.
they go on an off-season food tour in the U.S. and New Zealand,
That
And
sounds
they-
incredible.
and they call it Toothpick and Dinner Roll.
Oh, I like
What a
it.
terrible pun.
That's weird that you did that. My movie for Ferguson is called Toothpick. It's
yeah.
a original superhero film where a skinny-ass superhero that jumps real high kicks a bunch of ass. Also, his kryptonite is large dudes' foreheads.
Oh,
Takes him straight out of the
saw how
game.
you brought that back.
Yeah, that was my last one.
All right, so Paul George, he makes a documentary called Casting from Cali to the Plains, a fishing foray, and it is rated PG-13.
Yeah, it has to.
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I like it.
he just like throws one, like he just says "fuck" one time, and it's automatically PG-13. Like, oh, well, there it is. That's all I
That
need.
moved it up. Twitter questions?
Let's go to Twitter questions. Tweet. All right, from Dakota Baker at Bearded Thunder 1. Hey,
Haha.
can we go ahead and commission that Nick Collison statue? You're damn right we can.
I think it's time.
What a perfect time. Yeah.
Make it today.
They probably started on it last night as it was going on. Yeah.
Someone's
So-
just outside.
So one thing that I want to just do, that made me think of this. What do you think the odds are that Nick Collison's jersey actually goes up in the rafters at some point
100%.
in franchise, future?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine. Like I think, like if you look at impact and like you take everything into account, like I definitely think that he should, that should happen. I don't know, likelihood that I think it actually will. we'll have to.
Part of the
see.
problem with Nick is like he doesn't really have the on-court accolades or
That's the
stats
thing,
to
yeah.
really make
Right.
up for it. But if he's gonna end his career in Oklahoma City, only playing for the two franchises, but the one that was just moved,
Right.
I think that's something that's well deserved. And I've always felt like he's kind of been an embodiment of who Oklahoma City is as a player.
Right.
I think it would be a cool gesture. But anyways, from Michael Cage headphone scan at the Roadie 2020, would you rather have Michael Cage's headphone scan instead of your hair, or reply with a Brian Davis catchphrase to any question you're asked for the rest of your life?
So we talked about
This is my favorite question we've ever
This
gotten.
question is probably the best question we've received.
He's getting a shirt if he wears a larger buff.
He's getting a shirt, and so we'll get in contact with him. But to answer the question, I feel like you could also throw in, like, you have Cage's head, and I feel like I would touch it a lot. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like it would be so distracting to me.
I would not be able to get through my life.
I wouldn't
That
be
is-
able to. Like, I wonder how he's not constantly touching it.
I-
But I will say this as well. Like, I think you need to throw in, like, Michael Cage sayings. Yeah.
You'd have to be like, that's nasty, partner.
Like, he would also,
That kind of
if
thing.
you throw in, like, the sayings for him, that would deter me so much. I would take it. But with the question as is, I'm going Brian Davis for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Brian Davis.
What a disaster that head's. Why does he wear that?
Yeah, he should definitely wear these type where it doesn't have the in-between space.
Why does his head come out of the... I don't get it. It's like a miniature cone head there. It's so weird.
I would totally take Brian Davis. And Brian Davis would be really cool for about a week and a half.
Oh, God, for the rest of your life,
'Cause
it would
it'd
get
be hilarious, but
tiresome.
after that, someone would ask you a question, you'd be like, "Oh, rattlesnake jam," and then they'd be
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, "I'm sorry, I can't help it."
Or you just sent me that question from Boeing, Montana. I don't even know if that's a place, but Bowling, Montana? What is that?
It's Missoula. We'll go
Missoula,
with
there you go.
that. From Rafa at RTRU for you. Can we give Melo the wrong game times for the rest of the season?
That was a good one as well.
Please. Someone make sure that happens.
We'll just Arizona doesn't go they don't do daylight savings time.
Yeah.
So we'll just convince Melo that we do the same thing here. So the road games
He's
it won't
always an
really
hour
work.
off.
But yeah, so he'll show up and it's halfway through the second quarter. What the hell happened?
I like that a lot.
I've gone down a bad road here where I'm looking up Brian Davis quotes
shit.
on the Twitter account.
A tisket, a tasket. There's a defender in my basket.
Oh,
There's got a
wow.
couple. Grant by himself could have made it. Like, the things that he says
had
are
a
just,
sandwich.
when he says them, Grant by himself could have had a sandwich. And you imagine, these are during the game. I want to find out how to say Stone Cold in Spanish.
Oh,
That's
yeah, I
one of
remember
the
when he was
quotes.
doing that.
It's just so, can you imagine saying these to people?
No. And, yeah.
It's weird.
It'd be rough.
Sorry, Justin, go ahead.
From Gobel Syriac at JSmoothP27. Why is Melo so trash?
Eesh.
That's all the question.
That's it, yeah.
Let's send that on to
I
Melo.
don't know. I don't know. We talked a lot about, I think it was a good discussion today about the possibility of Melo losing minutes in the playoffs to two guys like Patterson or Grant. I think there's a possibility you could see some, especially even if you don't want to talk about the playoffs, talk about the rest of the regular season. Maybe you can sell it as we're trying to
Rest you for the
to
playoffs?
rest Melo, and you just get a little bit more of.
And then when you get
those
to the
other
playoffs,
guys.
you're like, we're just trying to rush you for the next round, buddy.
Yeah.
Next round.
Yeah, we gotta have you next year, bud. We gotta
Yeah.
save you for next
Hell,
year.
even if you're not trying to even if you don't want to try and sell it as that might be something good for Melo anyways, to kind of cut back on his minutes. And it obviously would help a lot more if we weren't in such a log jam in the Western Conference.
True.
If you can sell it like that, be like, we need to rest you, that might be good for him just in general.
Yeah,
Maybe
but
the lower minutes
the
help.
thing is, we also we talked about confidence, and Melo might be the guy who has the most irrational confidence on this team.
Yeah.
But I even think you're looking at him as a guy who has 100% is starting to lose confidence in himself.
Ooh, yeah.
And so I think that is also something that's going to affect him going forward. And I do wonder, if he starts to see his minutes dip back, what does that mean for him?
I remember I was listening to one of the latest Low Posts podcasts, and they were talking on there about one of the GMs in the league had said, we're watching Melo age before our eyes. I was like, ooh.
See, I don't even. I think Melo aged
already
during.
aged.
I seriously do. I think he he aged during the offseason and we missed it. Like we didn't get to see it, and now we're just sort of seeing the results.
So those hoodie mellow pickup games, that was the last in his tank.
There was something.
He used it up. I've got one from Brandon Soul. What's Grant's current market in free agency, and what would it be if he shot 80% from the line?
What is Grant shooting from the line this season?
Not what you want.
So yeah, I mean, this is something that we kind of talked about last night, like in the group chat. It's just like Grant he's even more affordable. Obviously, you know, he's going to become a free agent. You want to keep him if you're the Thunder, but that's not necessarily guaranteed just because of the price of Paul George and Melo and all that. So if he continues to shoot so poorly from the free throw line,
65%.
65? Damn. That drives his price down. Like, he's not as valuable on the open market if he's shooting 65% from the free throw line, and I think that helps you if you are the Thunder to maybe retain him even through free agency.
So do you think that Grant is a guy who has more value to the Thunder than he does other teams? Because what I see from Grant, like I really feel like that's a guy who could play on any team, come off the bench for any team and have really good value. And so I hope sort of that other teams view it as he has more value to the Thunder than he would necessarily to another team, but I don't view it that way. I think Jeremy Grant is a good player in this league, and I think there's true value there for any team. And so I worry that somebody's going to give him more money than the Thunder are willing to sort of dole out, and we're looking at a Jeremy Grantless Thunder next season.
Yeah. Well, and I think especially lately how he's figured out how to get fouled so much. If he could figure out the free throw part of that, he would be such a much
not yet
more useful. But wait till next year to do it.
The coolest thing though is actually like seeing the progression to where he looks still a little bit uncomfortable. He looks a lot more comfortable than what I expected in watching him dribble, pump fake and actually get into the lane. That's really exciting. But another thing is like he would have to, like you talked about the free throws, like that 3-point percentage. He's shooting 27% from three. Like that's
Made
another
one last
thing.
night though. That was nice.
That's another thing that with Jeremy Grant that I think we forget. Like if he was somewhat serviceable in that, where you at least had to honor it at all.
Right,
like I think that there's another thing that would really skyrocket his price.
So much better. Yeah.
So if he could shoot better threes and better free throws, we're saying he would make more money.
Yes, that is correct.
That makes sense.
Hopefully we retain him, and he's just a year away from doing all that.
I hope so.
He's progressed so much this year. It's
really
not
has
that
come a long
far-fetched
way.
to think that he will do those things next year.
Yep.
From Johnny at Triple Double VGC, 50 bench points. Are you kidding me? Why and how? Is it sustainable?
Probably not.
I don't think 50 is sustainable. But you look at that, we only got, like Jason said, 2 points from Raymond Felton, who has been the bench
the whole season,
for the most part this entire season. Like, I think you're looking at an emergence of Jeremy Grant and Patrick Patterson, but like if you could get let's say somebody else falls let's say Alex Abrinas doesn't get as many points, but Raymond Felton picks it up, like could we be looking at 42? I don't think it's crazy to think 40,
like 30 to 40 points tonight would be very helpful.
That would be a very good team.
Yeah.
If you could get 30 points a night from your bench, like I think you're going to be beating a lot of teams, and you're going to be able to challenge your Golden States and your Houstons. Maybe up into the 40s.
I still don't expect that to happen though. But I wish it would.
I do feel like we're seeing a little bit of this bench rounding together a little bit, and I don't know. I worry more so about Corey Brewer than I do the bench, which is really weird. Because I feel like Corey Brewer is going to fall off, and maybe the bench will pick it up a little bit. I kind of hope there's some middle ground there.
Yeah.
So speaking of the bench, we've got a few more questions. From Thunder L at Luffalo L, is our bench underrated?
Nope.
No, it's
Definitely
not. That is hilarious that we go from holy cow, we have the worst bench to do we? Like maybe we have the best. Like,
maybe they're the best. I don't know. Yeah, that was a pretty huge swing from not thinking they were basketball players to maybe they're a really good.
Because I had numbers, to be honest with you, during the midweek pod. Like I had numbers that I was like, whenever the whole Russ should shoot 17 or less. And I had numbers that would say like, well, who's going to shoot those shots? Like we didn't get into it, and now it sort of seems a little silly to. But like the jump from I don't know who's going to actually be able to make shots too. Are these guys all underrated? It's insane.
It's pretty funny.
From OKC Thunder Zone at Basketballer, do you think OKC Thunder quietly patched the shooting guard spot, fixed the bench unit? Ultimately, are they ready to make a deep playoff run?
I don't know about the deep playoff run, but I definitely feel like they've patched. That's a perfect way to put it.
Like a
They've
nice
patched-
Band-Aid.
They've patched the shooting guard role.
Yeah, and I think, again,
In effect.
that helped
Right.
the bench. There you go, of course.
From Mort Salah at imort7, Pat to start instead of Melo going forward?
Sure.
Yeah,
I wish. It'll never happen.
that'd be neat.
It won't happen.
It'd be real neat. I got one from Sucker Punch at YouTube. Do you think Paul George can get all NBA team this year?
Yeah, I do think, especially with Robertson going down, I was hoping, like it hasn't necessarily been the case, but I was hoping we were going to see even more Paul George, like get even more sort of publicity for this.
Or is it
and
all defense?
Yeah, and that you would have, but I think altogether, like Paul George, if he starts playing better, like he's playing worse.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
if he gets back to that level where he was shooting, like 43% from three and
Yeah, so who's to say that, Paul George doesn't start to step it up? The Thunder have started to figure it out. They go on a huge run, with
To close out the
momentum.
season, right.
Yeah, with momentum going into the playoffs, I think that would speak loudly for voters.
yeah.
From Pedro at Pedro Pimenta. There we go. We made a mistake trading Doug and Ennis for Melo?
100%.
Wait,
Oh.
was that a question?
It was a statement with a question mark tacked onto the end. So it's like
Well
going
done.
back to Anchorman.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's safe to say, like, this was for the playoffs, but I think to me, like, it's like screaming right now that was a mistake.
I don't think it's safe to say until we see the playoffs.
But even with,
He's been terrible.
let's
I
say
will not say.
Let's say you can't play Enes Kanter in the playoffs against Houston, Golden State, but like it seems like McDermott would have a huge benefit to this team.
Well, yeah, that would be nice.
I mean, like from what we've seen, the inconsistencies, maybe that would have looked a little bit differently throughout the season. I don't know, it's hard to say, but it seems right now that it was.
for
Well,
sure.
and a big weakness is backup center.
Yeah.
Most certainly is.
From Ben Greer 26 at _the number. If we get the 3 seed this regular season, a disappointment.
What?
There's not an is. Sorry, there wasn't is there. I just misread it. If we get the 3 seed, is this regular season a disappointment? That's my bad.
No.
Feels like a giant success.
Yeah,
based
that's
on
a huge
what we've
success.
seen.
I don't understand how it could possibly be a disappointment. Like, are we supposed to be better than Houston or Golden State this year? I mean, I guess before the season,
I was hoping we
thought
were, but
picked us at the 3 before.
maybe.
But, yeah, I think Houston is incredible.
Either way,
They're
it's-
really good.
So, yeah, I think that's a huge success.
From Hunter Harjo at Hunter Harjo 7. More minutes for Nick.
Oh.
No.
There are a lot of
Oh, wait.
No more minutes
oh,
for
that's
Nick.
True.
He doesn't have the energy
It
in
looked
him.
like it was about 6.5 game minutes, six game minutes where it was like peak Nick, and then
Well, he only played 6 minutes actually. I thought he played 9, but it's
oh,
actually
you
6.
said 9 earlier, so that's
Yeah.
what I was going with.
So
So,
it's
so it's
more
4.
like 4
4
actually.
minutes.
6 minutes and 25 seconds on the floor. And
I
yeah,
think 6 minutes is the perfect amount of minutes for Nick Collison.
Yeah.
I think 5 is because
That's
5
true.
it was all good
4
for
minutes
5.
47 seconds.
Yeah,
is what
pull
I'm
him
going
right
with.
at. Billy's just got a little buzzer that goes off. Oh, okay.
Well, there's one in the arena. It's like blinking red as soon as it's like
Pull Nick.
get him out.
From Ben Burke at Ben_Burke 10. What is going on with PG and Melo? They're not making shots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked a little bit about that.
They should be better.
That's really the worst thing. Like, they have to make shots for your team to be successful. That's
Yeah.
why they're on this team. From Shannon Ward at Shannon Z Ward. Who in this year's draft is compared to Corey Brewer? We need them.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's a future question.
Keep going.
That's one thing that I have not read up on any of that yet. From OKC Thunder at JJ Swaggeroni. Is Corey Brewer legit? I sure hope so.
I agreed. Hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from Dustin Glover at Fat Glove, have the Thunder ever run a successful 2-on-1 fast break? Like ever? They yeah.
used to all the
Absolutely,
time.
Yeah. Just not with Paul George and Brewer. That's not gonna. That didn't.
That's
work
not the
well,
one.
All right, that's all we got.
That's all. Get some notes.
Yeah, let's do some notes. Notes! You guys close your eyes when you do that? I close my eyes.
I look up.
I do close my eyes.
Okay, good. I didn't want to be the only one.
And I raise my fist.
All right, so we're going to power through these real quick. Giannis and the Eric Bledsoe seem to have stolen Melo and Russ's tip ball ritual. And
I don't like this.
They're trying to one-up them by Bledsoe doing a push-up after Giannis rolls him the ball.
Not a fan of this at all.
If you haven't seen the video, go check it
Yeah,
out.
you should look it up.
It's 100% a knockoff, and they did try to one-up it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Like-
I don't like that either.
I mean, Russ is a trendsetter, so I don't blame him for stealing it.
That's
but
true.
Still.
You go ahead.
Yeah. So Carmelo Anthony with 23 points Tuesday has 25,210 points in his career, passing Jerry West for 20th place on the NBA career scoring list. So that's something.
Yeah.
Good job, Melo.
Melo's also taken 972 shots and dished 81 assists this season. So,
Hey, that's an old stat because he got 2 last night.
okay.
But so yeah, that was the fewest assists by any player this season with 900 field goal attempts or more.
That's
So,
not
that's
good. That's
not good, Melo.
Speaks to what we talked a little bit about Melo. Paul George showed up at Carl Albert's pep rally today to surprise the boys basketball team with PG2s before they go to state. That was when was that?
When was state?
No. When did he
When they
show
do that?
up?
I don't know.
Friday?
I think it was Friday.
I know state was Saturday. It didn't work because Carl Albert lost.
Oh, those new shoes.
Come on, PG.
They weren't broken in.
Go
That's
ahead.
probably what it was. PG gifted Russ a pair of leopard print PG2s, one of only 3 existing pairs, and Russ wore them in the Suns game. They're buddies.
Yeah, they're definitely the
like
best
that
of
they're
friends,
buddies.
right?
Nothing could tear that bond.
Dallas, Phoenix, Memphis, Sacramento have officially been eliminated from playoff contention.
Bye.
See
There you
ya.
go. So we have up next, we'll do a little Hero Zero update here. The next 4 games we have.
Brandon lost a point though, right?
He did. Brandon did lose a point. Do we have Brandon's prediction for this week?
I don't think we do.
Is he in the YouTube chat? You want to send that? See if
Hey,
we
Brandon,
can, or Slack?
you there?
Tuesday they have the Kings. I think this is wrong because they have a back-to-back there where they have on Wednesday they play
It's Monday versus the Kings.
Monday versus
Tuesday
Kings,
versus
Tuesday
the
versus
Hawks.
the Hawks. That's what it was. It's a back-to-back, and then they also play the Clippers and the Raptors. 4 games this week.
What you
Where
got,
guys
Dustin?
going?
I'm going to go 3-1.
And you have, is it the Raptors?
I really wanted to go 4-0, but yeah, I think we dropped to the Raptors. Although the Hawks game, you're going from California right after daylight savings time starts. So spring forward, you go to California on Monday, and then Tuesday you got to be back on the East Coast. What the hell is that, NBA?
Yeah. Seems a little unfair.
That's some bullshit.
I am going to go 2-2 because I don't know about Steve.
That is the
No,
big
that's a good
question
point.
there.
But
I feel
feel like-
confident that they could win against the Kings and the Hawks without Steve, and then I think you get a little bit scary with the Clippers.
Right.
So, but I'm gonna go 3-1,
excellent.
and then we'll get Brandon's update. Who Brandon is actually trying to catch Jason, who you only have 3 points for this little game here.
I need to be careful. I probably should have been more careful there.
You need a loss, man.
Yeah, he definitely
All of us have
needs a
a
loss.
loss.
And if the season ends, I just want to put this out there now, so you can't claim anything. If the season ends before anybody loses, whoever has the lowest points, which is right now is you get a loss.
I don't know about
That's how it ends.
Hold that L.
All right, that's it for us. Thanks for listening. I will be back for an aftershock to. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot the taste of the
I
thunder.
want to do my thing.
Hey, what'd you do that?
You do it.
I like beer and stuff. So last night, Thunder Nation was truly inspired by the efforts of Nicholas John Collison.
Yes.
Turning back the clocks to 2010 while we turn the clocks forward.
For a full 6 minutes.
Considering how absolutely on fire Mr. Thunder was last night, I'm turning to Ballast Point, great brewery out of San Diego. Love their Sculpin series. So this is one of the Sculpins. It's American IPA. It's the Habanero Sculpin. It's brewed with habaneros.
So it's spicy?
It's got this unique, really damn spicy. It's got such a kick to it.
Oh wow.
And so
Sounds crazy.
that fiery feeling that you're getting from Nick Collison lighting it up last night, that's where you're going to get it from the Habanero Sculpin from Ballast Point. check them out. Also, check out Untapped if you really like beer. I'm on there, JW Thunderstruck. Add me as a friend.
You
Let's
gave him
drink
your username.
together. You see my notifications on Twitter. Like it seriously is a great thing if you really like beer.
So many notifications on Twitter
That's a
because
lot.
Justin does enjoy his beer.
I do.
Likes
and
it.
Hell, the thing is, I don't even check in every single beer I have.
Oh,
just
Oh, wow.
just the unique ones. So,
I like that.
yeah.
Okay,
Impressive.
well, thanks for listening. I'll be back with an aftershock tomorrow, which is after the Kings game, and then we'll have our midweek pod on Wednesday, which you can catch. If you miss a pod, you can always find us on SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and of course YouTube, which we really enjoy being able to be on YouTube. We'll be doing our Thunderheads Bracket Challenge again this year. So if you want a free jersey, head over to @OKC Thunderheads on Twitter. There's a link
They got to
there.
beat us, though. So.
There's a link there you can click on. You can join. Like Jason said, all you have to do is beat the Thunderheads. Easy enough, right? We don't.
Yeah, I know nothing about college basketball, so you're going to beat me.
Yeah.
You're the only one that's won it once.
Yeah, I've actually won it, so I try and save us a little bit of money. Again, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys soon. Thunder up. Raising the roof, guys.
I like it.